A warm welcome back to the Information Security Stack, together with me, Daniel Gustafsson, and Kim Hindart.
Hoba.
Kim, today we are going to talk about something really interesting, at least in my mind. This is something that I care a lot for, and something that piques my interest a lot regarding not only information security. We, of course, are going to address this in the matter of information security related topics, but we are going to talk about a state which a lot of people ends up in, which a sports psychologist called Brian Kite, who I follow a lot, and we're going to link information to him. He has a concept he called BCD, blame, complain, and defend. Meaning, if I, as a person, end up in a situation where I either feel threatened, I feel insecure, I know I've made a mistake, but I don't want to take responsibility for it. I work in an organization where I might feel uncomfortable speaking my mind, or speaking up if I see something that is incorrect or not according to the processes we work after, and I'm not really willing to say anything about it. And if or I get caught in a situation where I have made a mistake, but I refuse to take responsibility for it, you start to blame and complain and defend yourself. Meaning, I will blame others. I will make sure that I make a real strong case for why someone else messed up so that I look bad, or that I did not get the proper information from my management, for instance, or I did not have a proper situation where I were able to be successful with a task that I have been given for a certain topic. Then I start to blame others. For instance, I blame Kim, that it was Kim's fault that he had not prepared the material I was supposed to work with. So that's the reason why I gave a poor presentation. Or I blame Kim for not giving me the proper education so I had the proper skills to do a good job. And I blame everything but myself. I don't take any responsibility for it. If I start to complain, of course, that means I will complain about others. I will complain about the material. I will complain about the technical solutions. I will complain about everything that will make a case for why I did not succeed with my end goal. Or if I start to defend myself, of course, that means I will make sure that I keep my back safe and have my own back covered, in the sense that I will make sure that everybody understands it was not me, it was someone else. So you start to defend yourself, and you make a case for why the situation you are in and the reasons why you have messed up was someone else's fault. So you start to BCD. Now, this is not uncommon in any way. This is a very common state. A lot of people spend a lot of time blaming, complaining, and defending, and we are guilty of this. All of us, everyone who's listened to this, us included, have been guilty at some point in their life to blame and complain and defend for why you did not succeed. It's a very common state. However, if you end up in that state and that becomes your normal everyday behavior and it becomes your culture, it starts to become a problem in terms of productivity. And when we talk information security, it becomes a massive problem, because if we have a team or a group or, for instance, of administrators or security administrators, or even worse, if let's say we have an entire company who uses the culture, or have been indoctrinated in the culture of blaming, complaining, and defending their behavior, then, Kim Hindart, what happens in an organization with this state?
Yeah, if you look at it, I mean, we have certain areas, if you look outside just information security, where we have this mandatory type of reporting where you should be able to blamelessly review an incident. Healthcare professions have it, where in Sweden it's called Lex Maria. That's a thing that you should always need to have a blameless type of reporting in order to get to the complete factual truth of what happened and how can we prevent it from happening again. What happens if people start to blame each other and start to cover up things? yeah, you will never get to the full truth. You will never get to the full idea on what has actually happened. And well, if you can't do that in security incidents, you will are bound to repeat them and fail again in the same manner. So this is a big thing. Lex Maria is an interesting case in Sweden where they actually injected disinfectants by mistake into the patients.
Yeah, that's how we can start.
Let's just say that don't follow Trump's idea of corona treatment, because it didn't end up well with disinfectants into the patients.
No.
Just say that. But the idea is, if you, instead of having a truthful and honest reporting where everyone can tell exactly what happened without getting blamed, if you start to fire people, and if you start to find a scapegoat and said, yeah, you made a mistake and you're fired.
Yes.
Well, can you avoid mistakes?
No, you can't. And this is the thing. And unfortunately, we see a trend of this, especially since the introduction of GDPR. We have seen a couple of cases in Sweden and in Europe where organizations, management teams, CEOs, and the people that are responsible for the company have completely escaped the responsibility of that action and claim that it is a technician's fault or an administrator's fault or a lawyer's fault. They blame someone in the organization and they pinpoint that person to be the scapegoat for why a specific instance of let's say a data breach happened, for instance. And to your point, is mistakes unavoidable? No, they're not. We're human beings. We will make mistakes essentially every day. Small ones, sometimes big ones. We want to avoid the big ones, but we will make mistakes every single day. We will fail. The human being is not perfect. We will fail. And failing is okay as long as we learn from our mistakes, and we might change the process and we change the protocol so we can hopefully avoid the same mistake twice. That's the only thing we can strive for. But we have seen a clear trend where management of large corporations, government agencies, and so on have pinpointed a person in the organization to become the scapegoat. That is pretty much the worst thing you can do to any organization, team, company. Doesn't matter what field of practice you're in. It doesn't matter what type of organization you are. It could be a sports team. It doesn't matter. If you start to pinpoint a person in the team as a scapegoat, it is probably the most dreadful thing you can do to any team, because then what you do, you nurture the behavior of blaming and complaining and defending. You will, as a leader of the organization, if I start to blame my technicians because it was their fault, and I might even write in a press statement, or I will call customers and I will explain to them that it was not the management team's fault, that it was not our processor's fault, it was this person's fault because that person was highly unprofessional and he or she is now fired, so the problem is gone. It is just a dreadful behavior, and I highly encourage anyone in a management position not to practice that behavior, because that will nurture and feed into the organization that it is okay to blame and complain and defend, and then lo and behold, your teams will start to do exactly the same. And this will only foster and nurture a behavior which will be, in the end, completely destructive to your organization. You will not be productive. You will not create good products. You will not be able to be finished on time. You will not have people who will take any responsibility for what they've done. They will make sure that there is a scapegoat or a person to blame or a system to blame or an organization to blame at all times. And this behavior, now when we start to see it live, is pretty dreadful to watch. Leadership, just for you, so for everyone who listens to this who are in a leadership position today, leadership is a very unsexy position to be. To be a leader of a team is actually not that much fun, to be honest with you, because when your team produces well, when your company produces well, when your team is producing well, the group that you are leading producing well, when we are reaching our goals and we are doing great things, the people that you should push when you are promoting something good are the people who works with the system. This is my staff, this is my team, this is my administrators, this is whatever it is I'm managing. These are the people who made us successful. You will, as a leader, take a step back and promote your team. On the contrary, if something goes wrong, you as a leader are solely responsible for that problem. So you have to stand in front of press, media, customers, management, whatever it is, and tell people that I solely am responsible for the mistake that has been conducted, even though you weren't the one who actually did the mistake. It could very well been a technician. It could very well been an administrator. It could very well been a finance person or a sales guy, whoever it is, who actually made the mistake. But that person can never ever be presented as the problem. You cannot push that person in front of you and say, look what I found. I found the problem. No, what you will do as a leader is to step up and say, it's my problem. I'm the reason to why this happened, because my management skills, my leadership skills, our preparations, the way we do our processes were not sufficient enough. But I will promise that we will make a change, and we will change our processes, we will change the way we work, and we will make sure that this problem never happens again. That's the message that you send up. You will have to take ownership of the mistakes of your team. That's the unsexy job of a leader. Now, if you're not willing to do that, please do not become a leader.
Yeah. If you want to see a terrific and excellent example of this live, just look at Donald Trump.
Yes. For instance.
He's a great example of terrific leadership where he owns his mistakes. There's never anyone else's fault. And he totally pushes all his staff for the excellent work that's done. It's never his excellent work anytime.
Or it is completely the opposite. It's always his reason. He's always the reason why something goes well, and everyone else is to blame when something goes bad. And unfortunately, he is not alone in this. Now, this is just a very easy target, I guess. There are several other leaders in the world. We had that specific case in Sweden as well, not that long ago, with the Transportstyrelsen, for instance. Pretty much the same behavior, where it could not be my mistake as my ownership as the manager. It was completely my team's fault. So of course they're the ones to blame. Now, Donald Trump, yes, of course, that's a bright shining star in this behavior, and you can look at that and you can see what we mean. But what happens is, and to be fair, if we take the United States as an example right now, with the leadership in place, it's hard to say that the US is doing fine right now. There are a lot of BCD going on in the US overall right now. Left is blaming right, right is blaming left. It's everyone else's fault. It's never my fault. And this whole behavior, as is stated, is because of leadership. Leadership will then feed the behavior into the organization. So in this case, the organization is a country, but you can clearly see that there is a lot of BCD going on. So with that being said, all we're saying is, as if you are in a leadership position, if you are the person in charge of your team, you completely own all the mistakes that your team does. And they will make mistakes, and that's fine. You have to step up and say, this was my fault and we will fix it. Now, I often get the comment back that, from leaders and managers, and say, I can't take blame for someone else's mistake, because if I stand in front of my team and say it was my fault, everyone will agree with me. And yes, that's the whole point. You step up and you take ownership of whatever happened in your team. But the next thing you do is that you tell your team, this is my plan that I will implement in order for us to fix the problem. And the people in the team who realize this, that they were probably the one to claim the fault of this specific action, will then very easily follow you because they know you're taking a hit for them. That feeds leadership, and that feeds the will to follow a person. I took a bullet for you. I know you will take one for me as we go down the road. But in this specific situation, I as a leader took the responsibility of the problem. Here's my plan how we're going to fix it. And whenever you do that, now all of a sudden the whole blaming, complaining, and defending thing will pretty much stop, because they realize that, okay, we better do as he or she says, because let's fix the problem. We do not want to end up in this situation again. So if you want to start to fix the BCD, the blaming and complaining and defending in your teams, the first thing that you have to do as a leader, well, you have to be the shining light in the room. You have to be the first one who does not blame, complain, defend, because that if you actually take responsibility for your actions, you take responsibility for your team, you are in charge and you are responsible for and complete ownership of all things that goes on in your specific team, then the team will follow. Then you breed that type of behavior into your team. If you want to get rid of BCD, you have to be the shining light. Now, second step of that is that you also have to start to look at your team in terms of, how do we actually interact with each other? Are we in an agreement of what is okay and what is not okay? Have we defined team rules within our team, where we have actually stated that this behavior is okay and this behavior is not okay? And if someone were to slip up and start to conduct the behavior that is not okay, then the team will start to correct the problem for you. So you as leader do not have to be the one with slapping fingers all the time. The team will start to correct each other. So you have to state what is an okay behavior and what is not an okay behavior. If you state that then it is an okay behavior to complain, to blame others, to defend yourself, then guess what? People are going to do it. If you state that is not an okay behavior and people hold each other accountable to it, once again, guess what? You are going to see a difference in the sense that will be less and less of an action and less of a thing. And over time, it will disappear. It takes work, though. You have to work at it. You can't just demand it.
But if you look at the relations in a team, if teammates start to do the BCD, if you have a culture where teammates start to blame each other,
yes,
surely you can have a high, efficient, fully super productive team with the BCD culture.
Well, no, is a simple answer. You can absolutely get productive results for a short period of time, but if you want to win in the long game, so to speak, if you want to win the long war, you will not succeed. If that is the case, if you have teammates and people in your team that are complaining and at each other, defending themselves and blaming everyone else around them, then no, you will not be successful. The simple answer to that is no. The long answer is that you have to work with your relations in your team. And the whole thing is that you don't have to be in a complete agreement about everything, because that's not obtainable. Every person will have specific things where they have their own opinion. What we have to establish, though, is an acceptance that the fact that you and I have a difference in opinion. If I can't accept that you have a different opinion to me, then we will not get over that hump of being able to interact with each other in a proper way. If I can at least accept your opinion and you can accept that I have a difference of an opinion, then we're going to be totally fine. That's okay. But to state that we're going to be a high performing team where we have each other's backs, where we actually care for each other, where I will make sure that if we have 30 tickets to do and you have 28 of them, I won't leave early that day. I will actually help you to clean up your tickets and make sure that you actually also can go home early. It's not fair for me. It's not really fair for me to leave at 3 p.m. in the afternoon and you have to work until 8 p.m. because you have more things to do. If we want to get to a state where I automatically will help you, then this has to be cleared. We cannot have a team or an environment where a BCD state is active, Whenever we get there, it's essentially over, and it will drain your energy completely. It is so unbelievably mentally demanding to be in a BCD state. And quite honestly, it's better to just shut up than to blame or complain or defend. If you just keep your mouth shut, whatever opinions you have, just shut up, because it will make your day better. If I start to blame you, I will suck the energy out of you as well, and I will drain your will to work and your will to live. So no, you cannot be productive or a high performance productive team with a BCD culture. It's impossible.
So you mean that BCD will erode trust, but is trust really necessary in a team culture?
Yes, I believe so. Anyway, now there are differences in opinion here, to be damn honest. But in my mind, yeah, trust is the key to be able to get to a state where I actually can accept the difference of an opinion. If I don't trust you, I mean, how are we going to be able to work with each other? I mean, if something really bad goes down, if I need your help and I can't trust that you're going to be there, then we're gonna get stuck in a frame of mind where I you're not going to be able to depend on your colleagues. You're not going to be able to depend on your team. So trust, in my mind, is the key thing. If nothing else, then you have to have trust within each other. That's it. I mean, everything else can be taught, and everything else we can expand on that, technical skills and whatever it is we practically do. We can work on that. There are training courses for that. But if I don't trust you, then you know what, it's going to be, we're going to have a tough time succeeding. To be fair, there are a lot of people who claim that trust is absolutely unnecessary to succeed, as long as people tell them what to do, and we have a strong leader in the team who will tell people what to do, then yeah, fine, you're probably gonna, then we're gonna be successful, as long as everyone just follow a leader's charge. And that could be the case, absolutely. But if you want a team to work together, no. What happens when the leader is not in the room? When the leader is gone, what is your actual behavior? When the leader is gone, what is your normal behavior? And if your normal behavior when the leader is gone is to blame, complain, defend, guess what? It's not going to work. So I heard a great quote once, that culture, if you want to define culture, culture is the leader in the room when you're not there. Meaning, if I'm the leader of a team and I'm not available and in the room at the specific time, if I'm away from my team, the culture we have established will be the leader in the room when I'm not there. So if we have a BCD culture, guess what? That's exactly what's going to happen when I'm not around. If we have a culture of trust and a culture of mutual respect, then that's going to take charge when I'm not around. So it really is up to you, how you establish your culture in your team. But BCD is a pain. It's a proper pain, and unfortunately, it's extremely common. We are all guilty of it. It's extremely easy to fall into a BCD state. It takes essentially nothing. I mean, just one minute little thing can just alter your day completely, and you will start to bitch, gripe, and moan about everything. And that could be fine at times, so you just have to get out of it quickly. Get it out of your system, but then you have to move on. Because if you stay there, you ruin your day, and you're going to ruin everyone else's day around you. So I highly suggest that, get out of it snap out of it as quick as possible.
And this is back to information security. The most dangerous state we are in is when we do errors. Just to burst your bubble here, but there are no fully automated, foolproof technical systems that can compensate for human errors. We haven't gotten to Skynet yet.
Nope.
Google, when you hear this, and I know you're listening, start building Skynet a bit, push a bit for it more.
Yeah.
I mean, John Connor, you're totally wrong. I side with the machines.
Of course you do.
And for all you kids who don't know this reference, Google is your friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, for sure, information security, the very, very best thing you can always do, and this is a thesis we are actually pushing, this is a theory we have, that the best thing you can do for information security is reduce human errors.
Yes.
The technical parts today are very solid, especially if you use a cloud environment. The the technical infrastructure of the cloud environment has top-notch security. We will talk a bit about the legality if you're a European entity using hyperscalers in US. That's a totally different story.
Yes.
But when it comes to the strict security, locking stuff away, patching them in an orderly fashion, making sure that no unauthorized people are walking into your data centers, making sure that you have proper locks on the doors and these stuff. This is top notch, really top notch
Yes.
in a cloud environment. So
Yes.
you can get top notch. What's the biggest danger? Yeah, you forget to lock the door on your end. I can buy a super secure safe, but if people enter the code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's not that secure anymore.
No.
So it's up to the people. It will always be human errors, configuration mistakes, especially. There's very little malicious things happening. Statistically, malicious intents is very uncommon. And I dare say that I dare challenge that if you have a good working business culture, you will get rid of the malicious things as well, because you don't hurt people you like.
No.
That's human basics as well. You don't hurt people you like. So malicious stuff is very uncommon, and that can be resolved with culture. But we also maintain that human errors can be mitigated with a good culture. And that's because you have less stress, you have less things to do, because if we help each other and become a high producing, high performing team, we can resolve a lot more in less time, be a lot more efficient. And that helps a lot with the situation. And you don't feel alone with the whole burden. And that reduces stress. And stress is the main reason why we make mistakes. So there's the thread wheel, so to speak. So we are at least maintaining that you want to reach a high performing team from a security perspective. And yeah, and just to be clear, a lot of leaders disagree with us in this.
Oh yes, oh yeah, for sure. This is not an opinion that is accepted across the board. I will just end on this. If you're listening to this and you are in charge of a team, it doesn't matter if you're the CEO or team or if you are a team leader of a group. If one of your employees make a mistake, and they will, even though that mistake might cost you in terms of PR, it might cost you financially in terms of liabilities, as long as that mistake was not a malicious mistake, meaning that person had an intent to hurt you as a company. If the mistake was an honest mistake caused by, no matter what reason, could be stress, could be whatever it is, it does not matter. Please do not hang that person to the crows. Please do not exploit that person as the cause of the reason to why you had a problem. Help that person instead. Make sure that you have a culture where it is okay to own up to your mistakes. A, you will resolve your issues quicker. B, you will be able to work with your processes and your procedures easier. C, you will create an environment where people feel safe in the sense of it's okay to make a mistake. Please don't, to the vast, as much as possible, don't make mistakes. But if you do, and sometimes it will happen, and it will happen to the best of people, whenever a person makes a mistake, you as a leader own the mistake and say, it is my mistake. And then you fix it on the inside, not by beating people, not by battering people, but making sure that the processes will be changed, the way we act and behave will be changed, making sure that we do not make this mistake twice. But you have to foster and nurture a culture where it is okay for the people in your team to feel safe to own up to their mistakes. If you do that, And if you as the leader own up to your own mistakes and you will make sure that you take charge of the mistakes your team do, you will quickly get rid of the BCD culture in your specific team. Trust me on that one. So with that being said, Kim, if anyone has anything they want to add to this discussion, if you completely disagree with us, or if you have other war stories you want to share regarding a BCD state, or if you just want to discuss the topics in general, feel free to leave a comment at citynetwork.eu/podcast. You will find all the information regarding the sessions, all the related topics and links you can find there. And also you can add or ask your questions to the program, or if you want to actually participate as well in the podcast, if you actually want to be with a microphone under your nose talking to us, we would greatly appreciate it. If nothing else, Kim, we'll talk in the future. Thanks for today.
Hubba.